Hi, how's everyone? Hope everyone's all good and well. Welcome to another quarantine review thingy with Bobby. That name will be it for now. Don't know whether it'll stick. Because I've really enjoyed doing these, and people who have watched them and stuff obviously have enjoyed what I'm doing. So I might continue this as when quarantine finishes and all this stuff. Because the idea of this was just to keep doing them till we can go to the pub, but I might keep doing them when I go to the pub. I might go look at albums one on one, do different lists and all kinds of stuff, as opposed to just ranking them. But I'm still doing all the rankings for today, and today's U2. As I said last week, last week and this week were big two influential bands. Last week was Kiss. This week is U2, my favourite band of all time. There's not a whole lot. This band has been so big for me. I can't put into words what this band means to me. Obviously, a good example of it was they came to Australia in November. I went and saw every show. Not of the tour. I would have liked to have done that. It was only 15 shows, but anyway. But I saw all 6 Australian shows and the 2 shows in New Zealand, which was very good, very, very cool. This week what I'm going to do is one of the things a few people told me from watching the Kiss videos that it was very long. I think it's about 45 minutes if you haven't seen it. But I do 24 albums, so that's part of it. And since I love talking about Kiss and I know a lot about them, I had a fair bit to say, but I did try to condense that down. You two have a lot more, I want to talk about a lot more because they are my favourite band, and each album has, a different connection to me. They all mean a lot to me, so it's very hard to say, and I'm going to tell different stories and all this stuff relating to all the albums and what certain songs personally mean to me. So I'm doing it in 2 parts, and I might do this from now on for bands with 10 plus albums, because it takes a while to get through all those. So yes, this will be in 2 parts. So part 1 today for Friday, and then part 2 I will post Sunday night. So you can watch me to start your weekend and watch me to end your weekend. If you enjoy that sort of thing. So yeah, this is in 2 parts. So I'll do my ranking of 14 to 7 this week, and then 7 to 1 next week. So yeah, let's go. First I also say I did originally do, anyone that saw when I ranked them before I went on my tour. Before I went on my tour, I did 14 days before. I did 1 album per day and sort of ranked them then. This is basically not a copy and paste. I have had a look at this. Some albums have been reordered, and some I listened to and some I didn't and stuff. So yeah, it's not a copy and paste, but a lot of them are the same. The top 7 are the same if you remember those. But anyway, here we go. Number 14 is a pretty easy choice for me. Is Nail on the Horizon. No matter whether you follow bands, artists, sports stars, you can't say that everything that they've done, unless there are some people I follow who just did things for a short amount of time, and left such a huge mark, and everything was brilliant, that you really can't say it was a bad thing. But there are some out there that are like that. But any band that does more than 5 or 6, usually 10 albums, you can't say that everything is great. There's always going to be a dud rubber in that list. and for mine it's No Line on the Horizon from 2009. I remember when this came out. Um, I remember going on iTunes every day and online every day just to see whether the date had changed and they put it out the next day. So I was really excited for this coming out. Um, and it came out. I didn't mind it when it came out at the time. I was 10 when this album came out, so it was a little more under the hype of, oh, it's a new U2 album, it's a new U2 album. Then, and I just sort of liked it because of that. But very quickly I started to not like it and started to listen to it less and less and less and less. And as years have gone by, I do think there are 5 good songs on here. There's No Line on the Horizon, Moment of Surrender, Fez Been Born, Breathe, and Seed of Lebanon. I think are great songs. If they were on an EP, I think I would really enjoy them a lot more. But because if I listen to this album, I have to get through I'll Go Crazy, Unknown Caller, Whitest Snow, and then the Dreaded, and I really do. I don't want to say like to say I hate anything from U2, but if someone says to name something you hate, it would be these 2 songs: Get On Your Boots and Stand Up Comedy. Awful songs. I'm sorry, just not good at all. And it sucks because the tour for this, the 360 Race tour, was a great tour, and was the highest grossing tour. I don't know if I think that record might have been beaten by Ed Sheeran or something in recent times. I don't know, but at one point in time, this was the highest grossing tour for the album that came with this album. But the album's awful. I really don't like it. I last time I listened to it in full was when I was at work, because I work in a kitchen and stuff. You sort of just choose what you want for the next 5 hours and then put your phone in your back pocket and then just listen to it. So, you don't really have the chance to sort of skip songs. So that's probably the last time I listened to this album in full. After that, I just pick my favourites and then go from there. So yeah, that's my 14 pick. Not a great pick. Number 13 for me is Songs of Experience. In that original list, I had this at number 10, and I'll explain why. In 2015 and 16, I hardly listened to U2 at all. That's probably years I sort of dropped out of them. What they were doing at the time was a bit sort of, I wasn't quite. Actually, I wasn't into it at the time. I really like it now. I'll get that album is in this video, and I'll get to that. That's the album that came before it, Songs of Innocence. I like the album, but I'll explain more about that when I talk about that album. And I was really getting into my metal stuff and punk, sort of the heavy stuff, like Motorhead and Iron Maiden and Priest and Metallica and all that stuff. So U2 really wasn't in the listening thing. However, in 2017, when the Joshua Tree turned 30, I put that album on and slightly started to listen to U2 a bit more than I had in the past couple of years. And then they got the announcement of this, and because I've always been interested in what U2 do, I always follow them whether I'm listening to them or not, I went out and bought this, and I didn't mind it at the time. And it was the album really that helped me get back into U2, and it wasn't a bad album. It's not a bad album, but the one song that really helped me push that along was the song The Little Things That Give You Away, which for me is my favourite U2 song in the last decade. The song is Bono sort of having an argument with himself, a younger version of himself, or sort of compare and contrast. And I was finishing school at the time, and obviously deciding what I was going to do with my life, getting a job was a big thing for me. I'd been really sort of against the whole corporate. I don't work in a corporate world, but the whole thing of working 9 to 5 and slaying for hours. I was just rebel musician, just wanted to play music, basically, as a 14-year-old. that sort of 14-year-old thing of, you know, fuck the system, and, you know, let's just be real, man. Sort of version of me as a 14, 15-year-old would have hated the sort of person I was becoming once I left school, sort of getting a job and sort of trying to make a place in the world. So I really related to that song, and that really helped me go back to U2's category and find relations a lot more to songs that maybe I like just the way they sounded as a younger kid, or just I liked them for the hell of it, not, or I liked them but didn't quite have a proper reason for it. For a lot of U2 stuff, I now have a real emotional connection to them, and the Little Things That Give You Away was really the whole sort of start of that. Plus there's some other great songs, and it's the Blackout, Lights of Home, um, Red Flag Day, all good songs. But yeah, as again, the more sort of like that, the more I listen to it, the more I sort of feel a bit odd about it. Get Out of Your Own Way basically feels like Beautiful Day too. It was like, well, we want, you know, as a sense of, let's try and get another big hit, so let's sort of recreate Beautiful Day. That's what Get Out of Your Own Way feels like. And The Showman, American Soul, not good songs. So yeah, not bad, but not great. Apart from that one song, which I think is awesome. Number 12. This album went up. This album was originally my 13 pick, but I changed it as of about 12 o'clock this morning because I feel it is a better album, and I have such a connection to the tour for this album. It's my first ever concert, and that album is How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Good album, not bad. Very dated though. That's the reason why it's this low. It very much feels like 2000. The album was made for the times, to fit in what was going on at that time. At 2004, you had bands like Kings of Leon, Killers, Coldplay. Those were the big. They were all very much influenced by U2. And then you also had these garage bands like the Hives and all this other stuff going on. So, yeah, good record. So very much for that time. Also, this is the time when Bono really started to get into his humanitarian stuff, and he'd been into it for years prior, but the big thing was that he was starting to appear on TV more, and you'd see him a lot with like George Bush and a lot of politicians and stuff, which is where a lot of people have their real hate towards Bono, which I don't quite understand, but I guess if you see him enough, you get sick of him. But anyway, so yeah, Bono was really getting into that, so I feel this was sort of a distraction for him. But songs like Miracle Drug, Love and Peace, Sometimes Can't Make On Your Own, Comes From Your Table, good songs. Or The Original Species would be my favourite song of this album. So yeah, that's my number 12. Number 11, October. Again, another point, a very sort of controversial for the band. This is not a controversial album, but Bono and Edge almost left the band during the making. Actually, wanted to leave the band during the making of this album. They were going to once they finished the album, and they went and told Adam and Larry, and their manager Paul McGuinness, and said, "We're leaving. We want to become full-time members of the church group they're part of." I think it's called the Shalom Group. That might be wrong. So yeah, if I'm wrong, correct me. And so there's a lot of and stuff. So there's a lot of friction in the band, especially for Bono, about wanting to be a rock star and wanting to devote himself to God. So you have a lot of those songs like With a Shout really represent that. Rejoice. And then you got, what's on his Scarlet and stuff like that. Even on Tomorrow, the Tomorrow really feels like a song. It's a song describing the funeral of Bono's mother, but at the end of it, it has this sort of bit. It sort of goes, open up to the arms of God. He's coming. He's risen. He'll come back. So you can really, I feel like that bit wasn't really needed at the end, but you really feel that Bono's, really deep into his religion at the time. obviously later on, they went and told everyone they wanted to leave. Paul McGuinness said, "No, you got these dates. We've booked these dates. You got to comply with these. Go and do these, and then after these, if you still want to leave, we'll talk about it then." But they did a lot of soul searching on that tour and decided to stick with the band, and thank God they did. Um, but yeah, this is a good. See, it's a good album to listen to. On that point, you really feel Bono and the band fighting to, you know, fighting with themselves about what they want to do. But it's not an album that I really go back to for that point. It's quite personal for the band, and unless you've gone through something like that, I haven't really. I was a part of a Christian faith. I'm not anymore. I'll get to that more on another album, because there's another album I relate to more about that. But I never had that contrast when I left. When I left, it was pretty much, you know, stop there, one stop. That's one part of my life. This is another part. So yeah, good album, good songs. Gloria, I threw a brick through a window, but you know, not the one I keep coming back to as much. Number 10, Rattle and Hum. This on my original list was lower, because the album is a mess, in the ordering of it. However, why I put it back up is because the studio songs on here. This is a combination of studio and live songs. They're just everywhere. There's a live song and a studio song, live song and a live song and a studio. It's a mess. One side should have been live. One side. Do it. Pink Floyd did an album like this in their career, which had live and studio, and it was a double album too. But one disc was live and one disc was studio. That would have been much better for this. However, my thoughts on it, I wish it was two separate albums: Rattle and Hum, the live album; Rattle and Hum, the studio album. The studio songs are fantastic. You know, Desire is still a great song. Angel of Harlem, When Love Comes to Town, Heartland, all great songs. And All I Want Is You, of course. All I Want Is You is in my top 10 U2 songs of all time. It's a great song. You got songs like Love Rescue Me and Hawkman, which are about 6 minutes, which probably could be shortened and reworked, but they're still good songs. U2 is one of my favourite live bands. They're one of the greatest live bands of all time. But there's live songs I chose on here are covers and songs that sort of they've already done in a way. I like U2 doing covers is fine. Like they've done some good covers over the years. One of the covers they did, I think, is amazing, is the B-sides, All I Want Is You, which is Everlasting Love. That was a great cover. However, Helter Skelter and All on the Watchtower, these are not really good covers. Especially that version, All on the Watchtower. You watch them sort of learning the song in the van out back before they went and played it in the movie. And again, I think I mentioned this, the movie was such an important thing to me, which is why I have such an attachment to this album and this movie. It's because I watched it so much as a kid. Most kids watch cartoons and The Wiggles and Sesame Street and all that other stuff that you watch, you know, on ABC Kids. I watched Rattle and Hum. That's my big memories as a young kid, is watching this movie, and I feel that the live stuff that are on that movie that were left out, stuff like Bad, With or Without You, West Streets of No Name, Exit. That's one of the best versions of Exit ever. Would have been better to go on this album. You know, there's such great versions. Whereas Helter Skelter really felt like just this thing that they learnt and decided to throw on the night. A song I found looking for is not bad. That's the version with the choir. At least that's a different version of a song that they've already done. Including Pride. It's my favourite version of Pride, so I kind of feel I'm glad it's there, but I wish it was a B-side. Same with Bullet the Blue Sky. Bullet the Blue Sky is in my top 5 U2 songs of all time. Probably my favourite version of the song, but still, I would prefer the song of studio albums or all live stuff, as opposed to all one side being one like that. that's, for me, that's how it should have been done. But anyway, I think studio tracks are great and a couple of live songs are good, but after that, you know, doesn't do much for me. Alright, number 9, 2014's Songs of Innocence. This is the album I was talking about before, Experience, where, you know, when this album came out, I quite liked it. The thing that sort of turned me off was that this was the album that U2 put on everyone's iTunes library for free. Now, I didn't have a problem with that because I was a U2 fan with no money. So U2 saying we'll give you an album really didn't bother me. However, now I love the way they did it. U2 have been known for being big and bombastic and trying to do different things that stand out. So the fact that U2 wanted to give everyone who had an Apple account their album, you know, for free, that to me just sounds like U2. I know it went horribly wrong, and I'll say my feelings about that in a minute. But, you know, because they lead into it. Here's what I'm going to say. U2 didn't give you this. Technically they did, but Apple was the one that put it on your bloody accounts, not U2 themselves. Apple came to U2 and said, we'll give you X amount, I think it was like 50 million or something, for the rights to your album for a month, and we'll give it to everyone who has an account with us for free. You don't say no. It's Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. Joe Elliott from Def Leppard was asked about this at the same time it came out. He goes, if you made an album and someone comes to you and says, we'll give you, 50 million to give it to as many people as we can, you don't say no. So it's a nice promotion. It was a good promotional tool, and everyone completely took it over the top. If you didn't like it, there was one simple thing to do. You press delete. It's not hard. Oh, it's an invasion of my privacy. No, if you didn't read the terms and conditions, that's your problem. That's not mine or theirs. It still annoys me that people still bring that up to this day. Oh, it's U2 are the band that, completely destroyed our privacy. Piss off. They are not. So yeah, that was, as a teenager, there were a lot of backlash from my peers and people my age to say, who's this band that says they can put their phone on my album? I defended it a bit. After a while, I sort of gave up and that whole thing sort of, and like I said, I was getting different things, so I was like, I'll leave that whole thing by itself. So I really didn't listen to this when it came out. When Experience came out was when I really listened to this and got into it, and I realised this is a good album. You got a song, and with all that media mess, a song like Every Breaking Wave really got swept under the rug. That is one of the greatest U2 songs of the 21st century. And for me, their best was a single. It was their best single since Beautiful Day. It's such a good song. And they played it pretty much every night when I went and saw them in November, and that was great. I love this song. You got Miracle of Joe Ramone, which is a lot of what this album deals with is the band years as teenagers. Your first experiences with love and relationships and music and where you grew up and all that stuff. That Cedarwood Road's about the street Bono grew up on, and the friend and also it's also dedicated to his friend Googie, who's had his childhood friend who he's still friends with. I very much relate to that. The street I grew up on, Fleet Street, my best friend for years lived right across the road from me. So that's the song I relate to very much. And then you got songs like Song for Someone, which is about Bono's wife Ali, Miracle Joe Ramone, where he discovered the Ramones, and same with This Way You Reach Me Out, it's about the Clash and Joe Strummer. The Clash and the Ramones were big influences on U2 when they first started. So yeah, good album. It's just a good listen, I will admit. But coming up against all of these others, it does. This is the reason why it's at number 9. It doesn't really quite beat all of these. But it's still a good listen. If you still have it on your phone, go and listen to it. It's still a good album. The album cover's crap, I will admit that. They had a better album cover when they first put it out, which was just like a white cover with a vinyl. like sort of like a put together sort of vinyl for a demo tape or something. That was really cool cover. I wish they kept that. This is a crap cover. But yeah, if it's still on your iTunes, go and listen to it. It's a good record. You'll like it, I think. Number 8, the last album for this part, which is part 2 is the next parts. So you go, number 8, Boy, the debut album. Really, really good record. You know, and it's very much like that. This is an album of Innocence, whereas that's more U2 looking back. This is U2 actually in an innocent period. Like this album came out in 1980, in October of 1980. So Adam was 20, Bono was 20, Edge was 19, and Larry was still 18, actually. So they were still very much teenagers when this album came out. And now you got songs like Electric Car and A Day Without Me, which deal with mental health, and A Day Without Me sort of deals with suicide a bit more. You got The Ocean and I Will Follow, which for me is more about Bono's mother and pardon me, and some of the memories that he has floating around and stuff. So the loss of Bono's mother was a very big thing that happened to him when he was 14. Really influenced his life and how he wrote and thought and stuff. And he wrote, obviously, there's one song on Songs of Innocence about his mother called Iris, which was his mother's name. But you got, yeah, I Will Follow, The Ocean, and you got stuff like Out of Control. Uncut Dove is like that sort of first sort of like early sexual experience is what that song's about. Twilight, the infamous line, boy meets man in the shadow. You know, that dawning of adolescence, that sort of 18 to 20 period where you're no longer a teenager and you're transcending into an adult. You know, really cool songs. You know, really gives you an idea of what U2 was like in their early days. In America, also say this, because I have this here, in America this cover was banned because they thought it supported pedophilia. So in America, you got this album cover, and Canada as well, you got this album cover. Which is a good cover, I will admit I like it, it's cool. But this more represents innocence than anything. And this boy would later on feature a lot throughout U2 in the 80s and sort of be a real big image that people would associate with U2. The kid's name is Peter Rowan, who was the brother of Andy Rowan, I think, who was one of Bono's friends. So yeah, kind of personal connection to the cover. But yeah, really cool song. So there you go, there's part 1. Part 2, as I said, will be posted on Sunday night. I haven't decided. I might not be wearing this. Actually, I probably will be wearing this shirt because I love this shirt. However, it might be sort of different. I don't know if I'm going to press stop and then do part 1 and just post it Sunday night, or whether I'll actually film it Sunday and then post it. So yeah. So I hope you enjoy this. And keep in touch for part 1. I hope everyone has a good Anzac Day tomorrow. I'm going to try and be out there on driveway tomorrow for the services stuff. Like I said, I'll try, I can't promise anything. The way I've been sleeping throughout this time off has sort of been a bit wacky. So yeah, have a good Anzac Day, have a good weekend, stay safe, and then I'll see you again Sunday night. Thanks, bye.